it is our duty to try this one and see if they can send us a bad sample. Tonight, we are going to review Barrel Batch 35, which should be starting to hit shelves nationwide right about now. It is a blend of Indiana, Tennessee, Kentucky, and they sent a ton of stats. So bear with me. I'll put a little chapter mark. If you don't want to see all this, you can just click ahead. But it is an Indiana bourbon that is 6, 7, and 8 years old. Tennessee bourbon that is 7 and 13 years old, and a Kentucky bourbon that is 8 years old. All that together gets a derived mash bill that is corn 78%, rye 18%, and malted barley at 4%. So if you don't know much about Barrell, I think at this point we can say it. They're the best blenders on the market. Like it used to be Bardstown, and Bardstown just blew their prices out the water, and now you can get Barrell, like 2 bottles of Barrell almost for Bardstown. So I'm willing to say Barrell's kind of it.
Yeah, I mean, Barrell was before Bardstown even, and so like I appreciate going even back to like Barrel Batch 12. There's a lot of blenders out there now, but Barrell was the best. Maybe even if they weren't the first, they were the best.
Yes. Yeah, and so small history lesson. It used to be frowned upon to blend and all that stuff, and you got bad products that way. So I do feel like they're kind of had to overcome all those negative things and everything like that. And here in the last 33, you really saw them like starting to catch everybody like, this is the one, you got to have that. And then 34 was amazing. So hopefully 35 continues this. We got a little cool gold sticker on our bottles, which says that they won gold at San Francisco here in 23. But yeah, let's dive in and see if they did it again, or have they finally let us down? Which I don't know if they could, but I'm willing to sacrifice and try.
Well, let's rewind. Like batch 33 was one of our top 5 whiskeys of the year, top 5 bourbons of the year. Yeah. And then we were like 34 can't compete. There's no way. And then in a blind, it beat it.
Yep.
So can 35? It's following up 2 phenomenal batches. So I think that's a difficult thing to do from the start.
Yeah.
So with that, I guess caveat or setting the stage, let's get into this.
So the nose is great. Deep, complex. I get some cocoa, some red fruit, maybe some apples. There's a lot going on that nose.
There is a lot going on. You were just like saying every word in the bourbon tasting profile.
I was saying every word in my vocabulary, actually. But yes, we'll say it's the bourbon tasting handbook.
Me hungry. Sorry. No.
There is a little bit of ethanol on there. I'm getting
a little bit of ethanol. Yeah. But sometimes, I mean, we talk about proof point. This is coming in at 117.5. Barrel is always barrel proof or barrel strength, and so they always tend to be a little bit higher. But that some things don't necessarily come through with that ethanol. This one does.
Yeah.
I'm getting the apple. I'm getting a little toasted apple.
Definitely burns the nostril though, so don't just shove your nose in there first thing.
Which is maybe a good recommendation. Period. Especially with higher proof bourbons, be cautious because you can really blow your nose. The nosing experience if you just get in there right away. So waft from a distance.
So it does that roller coaster thing. Not willing to break down flavors yet, but when you first take a sip, you get a lot of flavors, and then there's like this dead zone between the palate and the finish where it just kind of almost nothing is there, almost like it goes straight to water, and there's no flavor, and then you just get punched in the face with that finish, which is really interesting. Like there is a definitive transition between the two with even like maybe a 5-second break between the two to say, get ready, here it comes.
Yeah. I mean, I get punched by the I say punch. I mean, my tongue is just tingling. It's like
Hmm.
to me, it's not an unpleasant thing, but I don't mind a high proof, uh, peppery, spicy finish. So that's what this is. This is certainly bringing that.
Yeah, I definitely get apples all the way through.
That is really the dominant note for me. Even when I go back to the nose, it's just a lot of apple, and then like everything else, I'd say supports that. So it's the spice that adds to the apple. It's the maybe a baked pie crust that adds to the sensation of baked apple turnover,
Yep.
whether it's
Yeah,
in
they're
the both in the nose and then the palate before it transitions into that spicy ethanol forward finish.
yeah. Yeah, I would say in the beginning of the palate, you're getting a lot of vanilla, a lot of caramel and apple, so totally baked apple pie. And then it kind of like dies off a bit. Maybe there's a little bit of tobacco and oak, and then you get that like transition straight into the finish, and it's just crazy because it rebuilds in the finish, which is really cool. So it starts back at zero, and then it just slowly the baking spices come in, the cinnamon, uh, and then the ethanol, and it just coats your jawline and just keeps going for a really long time.
I really enjoy the right after the palate. You were describing some kind of break, but I'm not getting a break. To me, it lets you taste that sweetness before then that crescendo of the that finish builds. As far as I mean, some of that's built by proof, but um, with that spicy finish. But it's like it gives you that moment to appreciate a little bit of sweetness, a little bit of butterscotch, um, a little bit of oak, as you mentioned. Before then, it moves into a fiery pepper.
I'm a fan. I think it's good. It is very different from 33 and 34. I felt 33 and 34 were pretty similar to each other. Uh, this one just has a depth and complexity that the other two didn't. They were very good at their couple of notes, and then this one has a lot going on, but its strongest point is the finish. So if you're one that you like a big, peppery, cinnamon, ethanol finish, this one is just going to hit it out of the park for you without a doubt.
So Brian would appreciate this, and I think it's because of that powerful finish. But even as I sit, and TJ, you referenced this a couple times, the complexity. Even as I continue to let this sit, it's like the nose reveals even some more sweetness. So beyond the apple, and then also some more oak characters. And so that to me, that's a sign of a really nice whiskey that as you continue to sip it and drink it, it continues to evolve and develop some layers and show you some characters that it didn't have initially. And for those of us that like to sip just neat whiskey, this is a really tasteful expression.
Yeah, it's definitely an experience, and I think they released it at the right time because I think this is going to be a really good like fall sipper because it's got more of that ethanol finish and just really powerful finish. This is what you want on when it's starting to
Yeah.
get cold out, sitting by the
Those
campfire,
apple
drinking.
notes.
Yeah. Ooh, this would probably some people are gonna be upset, but I think this would be really good in like apple crisp whiskey sour or something like that. Yeah.
Others
Hmm.
got you um tainted. Like you're just
Hey, she made one heck of a whiskey sour. Next time you come over, I'll pour it in and you'll be a
I
believer
mean
too.
I'm a fan of whiskey
Yeah.
sours, yeah.
So, all right. So, what's the recommendation? Do you also pick this one up? I mean, for me, yeah.
I am always a buy at barrel batch.
Yeah.
And this is no different to me. I think in today's whiskey market, when you continue to see what people buy at exorbitant prices and
Yeah.
secondary prices, forget that. Um, barrel batch continues to perform at a very respectable price, and they're just dang good whiskey. So
Yeah.
just buy it.
Yeah.
Fill the shelf.
I,
In today's whiskey world, it gives you something unique too. So it's like, yeah, you can find Indiana whiskey. So there's several MGP, they're sourcing MGP for the Indiana portion. And you can find plenty of good expressions of MGP. And you can find plenty of good expressions of either Barton or Heaven Hill, um, Turkey, Beam in Kentucky.
mean, at this point,
And
it
you
could
can
be
find
Bardstown too.
or Bardstown, or you can find really good expressions of Tennessee. Dickel 15. We're big supporters of that as well. But what to me, like Barrell brings these things together, and it's unique. Like when I taste this and smell this, I don't think of a state.
Yeah.
I think it's a perfect blend, and it's something unique across all those distillates, and that's to me something you can't get anywhere else. So
Yep. I think
I'm
the
a fan.
perfect thing is it shows what good bourbon can be when you have some master blenders. So yeah, with that, cheers, and we'll see you next time.
So